Hi, my name is Shanda Hott. I am the Assistant Director for Housing Information. I oversee the Housing Information Office, which works directly with students on their university housing contracts, university housing assignments, and billing for room and meal plan costs. Today, our presentation is on how to find a roommate for the upcoming academic year. The first part of the housing contract, students will confirm and complete a number of required sections, as you can see on the screen. We will speak to the sections of Part 1 now highlighted: the roommate matching profile, roommate matching, location preferences, preference ranking, and then the LLC essay. In order to be eligible for room selection, all of Part 1 of the university housing contract must be completed no later than 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on May 22nd, 2024. Here are some things to think about and confirm once you have a confirmed roommate group. Roommate groups are typically of 2 people who have agreed to be roommates. There may be groups of 3 or 4 for those who wish to reside in triples or quads, but please keep in mind that we have very few triples and quads, and they are self-assigned very quickly during room selection. Roommates should list the same location preferences in the same order. Please note that resident hall preferences are not a guarantee. While you have a list of preferences, you will access and see all available spaces you are eligible for. We encourage roommates to note 6 preferences in various neighborhoods. Make sure to include living learning communities or special living options if those are of interest to either roommate and the roommate group. If either of you are interested in the living learning communities, please make sure to complete the LLC essay. LLC program directors will review essays to decide who will be approved to live in the LLC. If you are interested in more than one LLC, please prioritize your interests in the essay. You only submit the one essay. For most of the LLCs, only one roommate needs to be approved in order for both roommates to live in the LLC. The Honors LLC is the exception. For the Honors LLC, both residents must be Chancellor or James Scholars to be eligible to apply. Both must submit the essay and both must be approved for the roommate group to be able to live in the Honors LLC. The follow-up screens show adding a location, preferences, and whether or not you prefer roommate over location preference. To find a roommate, you may use roommate matching within the housing contract. There are 3 ways that residents address the roommate question. 1, a resident already knows someone who they want to room with, so they search by details to locate them in the housing contract. To find a specific person, they must have begun the contract. 2, a resident uses the roommate matching roommate profile within the contract to identify and talk with potential roommates. And then 3, a resident decides not to find a roommate prior to room selection and just decides to participate in room selection. They will either place themselves in a room with someone who is already assigned or place themselves in a room that doesn't have another person assigned to it and will wait to see who is assigned to the other space. The screen to the right shows you the page where you would select to search by details or search by roommate profile. This is what the screen looks like when you click on Search by Details. You would only enter someone's UIN or net ID, not both. Before searching for a roommate by roommate profile, you first must complete the first set of profile questions for yourself. Your answers represent you within the roommate profile. It's important to be very honest, and it's important that the future resident does this for themselves. These questions also serve as great conversation starters with any potential roommate. When you search by roommate profile, you will need to select by which questions you will use to look at a list of compatible roommates. We suggest you select only a few questions when you begin looking at a list of compatible roommates. The more questions you add to the required profile could reduce the number of compatible roommates, so only choose the items most important to you. Once the list is generated, you could see something similar to that on the right. You will be able to see who is already in a roommate group. You will be able to send someone a message to start a conversation anonymously. You choose when you offer your own personal information in this process. If you find someone that you would like to be roommates with, you each would send each other a roommate invite. The roommate group forms when each accepts each other's invitation. In order for the roommate groups to participate in room selection together, each person in the roommate group must accept each other's invite and complete part 1 of the contract no later than 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on May 22nd, 2024. Please keep in mind that most roommate groups will be made up of 2 people. There could be groups of 3 or 4 looking for triples and quads, but these groups must have a plan in place in case only double rooms are available. The majority of rooms are double occupancy. In the example to the right, it appears that EM has accepted a request from AK. The menu appears to the right. Remove roommate, send message, or view profile. At the bottom, EM has sent AK a message that AK can agree to be in the roommate group. We encourage you and your roommate to make a plan. Create a list of 15 or so residence halls to have ready for room selection. Discuss how you will work through the list of residence halls and identifying a space for both of you. Pick a room with 2 available spaces. Decide who will pick the room and place each other in space A or B. Who will get space A? Who will get space B? Please note if you place a roommate in a space, you are unable to move them to a new space again. If you try to move to a new room, you will be unable to move your roommate and you might end up being separated. The Housing Information Office is unable to assist in addressing this concern, especially during room selection. However, if you do get separated, try your best to select spaces in the same residence hall. We may have an opportunity to get you back together in July. It's not a guarantee, just a potential opportunity. Do not wait to pick a space during room selection. Spaces are selected very, very quickly. Make sure you and your roommate communicate a plan. A plan, picking a hall, picking a floor, picking a specific room, looking at the profile of the current occupants of the room, decide to stay or choose another room. And you have an option to go through open selection towards the end of room selection to change your room. But please be cautious because you may always unintentionally separate yourself from your roommate. The priority deadline to be eligible for room selection is 11:59 on Central Standard Time on May 22nd. We have listed several helpful tips for future residents to follow and keep in mind during this process in order to have a successful room selection. All residents in a roommate group must meet that deadline to be eligible in room selection. Please make sure to read all emails and directions for the room selection process carefully. Once room selection is over, the Housing Information Office will then assign contracts that come in after May 22nd. Assignment confirmation emails will be sent out at the end of June. No room changes will be granted after room selection. However, we will facilitate a room swap process during the month of July. The Housing Information Office will facilitate a room swap process for residents who may have been separated from their roommate during the room selection process. However, all those swapping rooms must agree to do so. We will not force residents to switch spaces. The room swap form will be available on July 1 on the University Housing Forms and Documents website. After we receive a form from each person agreeing to swap spaces, the room swap will be facilitated and a notification will be sent out on the subsequent Friday, only if the room swap has been completed by the Housing Information Office. After the room swaps are completed for the month of July, Then we focus on students moving in August. If you have any questions, please contact the Housing Information Office by 217-333-7111 or housing.illinois.edu/contact us. Thank you so much for your time.